I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. Thing sucks.
Here we go. It's another edition of the Daily Puck Drop. Monday, November 4th, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Puck Sports Studios built by Limbeck Lumber. Contractors, they got free deliveries, everything from whole house packages to homeowner DIY projects. Largest stock moldings in the Northwest, old school service because they've been doing it since 1930. Give Limbeck Lumber a call, 206-782-20, God, you're an idiot. 206-782-3487. Visit them online at limbacklumber.com. Of course, you can follow the program. You can follow me on social media platforms, Puck2040 on Twitter and Instagram. Also, Puck_sports on TikTok. You can find us on Facebook, Jason Puckett. Of course, the go-to guy is here. He's got some brand new sponsors he's going to tell you all about in just a quick second. You can follow him on Twitter at Cougs Go, the go-to guy. And here's the thing. I need some social media help. I got to get everything changed over to Puck Sports, and it's a pain in the ass to get everything because, like, there's
people
go from
that Puck 2040 to Puck Sports.
Well, yeah, because there's other people that have Puck Sports, but then they don't use it. So how do you get it? How do you get it if there's like someone like on Instagram that has that handle, but he never uses it?
I don't know. Can you contact? We'll contact them.
Well, I know. I'm trying to figure out.
But then if you contact them, they don't use it, so they don't see it. Yeah,
okay,
I see a conundrum there.
Yeah, there's a conundrum. All right, Jim, get your proud sponsors. Jim,
I want to thank
Monday,
Brian
Wednesday,
Turner.
and Friday.
Brian Turner, yeah, he owns a Clean Streak. It's an exterior cleaning business, but he also has this side business that he wants to focus on in November called Bright Owl Lighting, brightowllighting.com. If you've got a business or a home, they'll come out there and they'll put up Christmas lights. You'll have the best lights in the neighborhood. I mean, little Johnny down the street, he'll be saying, Daddy, how come our lights don't look like Jimmy's down the street there? Well, give him a call at Bright Owl Lighting, 360-675-2034, 360-672-2034. Full service. They design, they install, they maintain. They'll put them up and they'll take them down and they'll safely store the lights for next year. The thing about it too, Puck, and we talked about it last time, don't risk your life going up on a ladder. Don't get up on the roof and lean over the gutters, and don't get out in the weather. Let these guys at brightowllighting.com take care of it for you. Okay, this reminder, this terrific holiday service is only available in Island, Skagit, Whatcom, and Snohomish counties. But check them out for a free estimate one more time. Give them a call at 360-675-2034.
There you go. Thank you for the sponsorship of the go-to guy Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It looks like you're on the road. Looks like you're in a hotel room.
Yeah, I'm in a hotel room in Hood River, Oregon.
I love Hood River.
Yeah, we got up. We left Bend at 6:30, got here at 9:30, got ready to go. And shock of shocks. Usually, they don't let you check into a hotel room until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then what happened to the days when you could check out at noon? Now it's always 11.
Yeah.
And then if you try and get a late checkout, it's 50-50 on whether they'll let you or they'll charge you extra. But here at the Best Western on the Columbia River, we got in early, so it worked out well.
Yeah, I love Hood River. I told the story many times. If I would have stayed in Portland, Oregon, I was working at 910 The Fan. If I was going to stay there, that was where I wanted to live. Hood River, Oregon. I love Hood River.
It's really, it's nice. I found a nice little sports bar. They got a happy hour that starts at 2:30. So I've been checking that out. The golf course across the way, there's a little town on the other side of the river that I've never heard of that starts with a B, but it's cool. Nice little parks. Guys that are paragliding off the mountain.
Sure.
Top over there. And there's a golf course I need to check out too. I brought my clubs with me. I forget what it's called, but my wife's raving about it. It's over on the other side of the river, so somebody maybe knows which one I'm talking about.
Well, I don't know. I mean, golf. What's the weather like down there? Up here, it's Stormageddon.
Well, it's raining here.
It's Stormageddon up here. It's rain everywhere. It's wind. I mean, it's dark. The daylight savings time. It's over. It's just over.
It's getting dark. It's not 4:30 yet, is it? Is it 5 o'clock?
It felt like 4:30 yesterday. It was like 4:30, 4:45, and it was just dark. Dark like the Seahawks season.
Oh, that's pretty good. How about the dogs, though, before you use that seamless transition that was so professionally done?
What about the dogs?
The dogs just aren't used to the daylights or the standard time yet. Because, the last 2 mornings, the dogs are getting up going, hey, man, we're usually getting fed at 7. Yeah. And so now they want to get fed at 6.
Yeah. I noticed it. I noticed it at night. They were like, hey, what's going on? It's time to eat, fellas. Can one of you 2 people, I don't know your names, can you feed me? Mm-hmm. Like now? Yeah. And then, now the storm. See, this weather hits. The younger one, she'll go out and nip. The older one, she's like, I've done my business. 13 years. I've gone out in that shit so much. I don't need to go out anymore. I'm good. I'll stay inside.
Do they go on the artificial turf?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Do they? They're okay with that?
Oh yeah, they love it. They love that stuff more in the rain. Yeah, I mean, come on, synthetic turf Northwest. You don't want you're done dealing with the rain, the mud, the bog that is your lawn in Seattle or wherever you live. Synthetic turf Northwest. Give them a call. Put in a putting green like I did as well. You can enjoy it in the winter as well. No more tracking in mud. Easy pickup of the dogs. The dogs love it. Kids love it. Adults love it. Everybody loves it. Synthetic turf Northwest.
Well, you love it too. You showed me last night. We talked last night because I was trying to set up this new system with the headphones and the microphone.
Yeah, microphone sounds great.
And you showed me your setup outside there with the putting green, and then up above, there you are on the deck. You got the TV outside. You got that nice little fire going.
It's beautiful.
You've got it. I mean, it's really nice.
I prefer the outside.
I do too.
Prefer it.
Yeah, except for we know how you feel about this time of year because the traffic's awful anyway, and I think doesn't it make it a little worse in Seattle when it rains? Even though
it's just awful.
Even though we've all been conditioned to it for however many years we've lived there, and yet it still seems to make it worse.
It doesn't matter every year that this happens, that we turn the clocks back and all that kind of stuff, and it gets later, and I know I know this is coming. I've lived here my entire life, other than, the 4 years I lived in Portland, which is essentially the same thing. All right. Every time it happens, I know that it's starting. The depression starts now because I know how long this is going to last. And I don't get used to it. Every year it gets, I don't know. And as I get older, I get more agitated with it. I got to get past it. I just got to get past it.
I didn't know you when you were younger, but I know how much you hate the traffic and the weather in Seattle.
Oh, I know. It's awful. And I know, why don't you move? It's easier said than done. You got kids that are in high school or one that's in high school and one that's in middle school. You're just not going to pick them up and remove them and say, say bye to your friends. We're moving.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We moved, though, before the kids went into their freshman year of high school. But for them, it was easier because we went from Renton to Issaquah. And then when the kids, kids play sports, they had some buddies there at Issaquah through basketball and baseball, so that helped us with the move. Yeah. But, boy, if you were going to go to, like, San Diego like you want to go to, I mean, the vampire and Mary Lou, they wouldn't have any friends there yet. So
they'd make friends.
They'd make them.
They would make them, and they'd be fine. But it's just, they've got everything established. I don't want to do that to them. But the vampire, like when that see what's going to happen is at graduation, when he graduates from Ballard High School, I can't do the math. Whenever he graduates, I'm leaving wherever that graduation ceremony is, and I'm loading up the van. And I'm out.
Yeah, it's probably 2032.
Yeah. What is he? He's in 6th grade now.
And you'll be around 55. So, you can move into one of those senior living communities if you want with your wife.
I want to move into one of the senior living communities that have like the golf cart community.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of those out there.
Yeah.
I'm still kind of like.
I want it. Can't wait.
I'm so 67. I can move into any kind of community. In fact, I'm probably closer to one of those, assisted living places than I am, one of these nice communities with the golf carts. But I'm still kind of resisting that. I don't know if it's what it is exactly. My wife talks about how much fun it would be. We'd meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't want
cards.
to do that.
You got
I
cards.
don't want to do it yet.
You got cards. You got activities.
I know, but
you got a golf cart. There's happy hour probably every day, like 3:30, 4.
I know, and you're playing bridge and bingo and shit?
Yeah, bridge. I fucking hate bridge. I hate bridge so much.
Well, it's hard to learn, isn't it?
It's the most difficult card game around.
Yeah, I've never
literally
played
the most difficult card game ever.
Yeah. No, I'll just stick to cribbage and maybe pinochle if anybody ever wants to play pinochle.
Yeah.
God, we used to play pinochle all the time on Gannon too over there in Pullman.
Old Gannon. God, really? When you were in college, I loved that.
Yeah, we'd play one bong, two bong, Puck.
One ball, two ball. I've never played pinochle, so I don't know.
If you went set where you didn't make your bid, you had to take a bong hit.
I got you.
If you lost the game, you had to take 2 bong hits.
Well, I'd like to lose a lot.
Oh God.
Tell you that.
The towel under the door in room 2.
Towel under the door.
Yeah.
We used to stuff paper dryer sheets in toilet paper rolls.
Oh, okay.
And then you blow the smoke through that.
Yeah.
I don't think it worked at all. Still don't think
Probably
it works,
not.
but it made us feel like it did. All right, made us feel like it did. I want to avoid the Seahawks. I'll be honest with you. The only thing I want to talk about is we are moving one step closer to perhaps you seeing your dream come true and collecting $250. Sam Howell. Is it Sam Howell time yet? But I don't think so. But I'm going to tell you that door has gotten it's been ajar a little bit. It's getting more open, my friend.
It hasn't really been ajar though.
It's getting, you see more inside the room, don't you now, a little bit?
Well, I do, and I popped off on Twitter last night, telling you that, hey, it's almost Sam Howell time, and quoting the guy, Mookie Alexander, from Field Goals and what he had to say. And so it's plausible now, isn't it? Because,
well, yeah.
And even if you're a Geno supporter or a Geno detractor, and boy, there's nobody in between. It doesn't seem like there's anybody that's right down the middle with Geno. It's either like, okay, this proves that Geno's got to go. He's not the quarterback of the future. Let's just, rip the Band-Aid off.
You mean there's no one on the fence?
Or it's the other people that are Geno supporters that are going, well, what quarterback in the NFL could function behind that offensive line? And you got to give him credit. He still threw for 360 yards. You think about it, too, those 240-yarders to JSN that were called back by penalty. Geno could have thrown for close to 500 yards yesterday.
Yeah.
But it was the interceptions that
well, he has the interceptions. He has the interceptions. And then it's sandwiched between the 4th down throw to JSN that was beautiful. And then the touchdown throw. It's beautiful.
The touchdown throw, he had a tight little window there.
I mean, and so therein lies the rub, right, with him, is that he makes some boneheaded decisions, and then he makes some absolutely wow throws. So I still think there's people on the fence, right? There's still people on the fence that watch TV tonight and are wondering, well, I need one more political ad to tell me where I'm going to go.
Hey, does anybody ever talk about their own strengths when they're doing an ad anymore?
No, it's always about the other person and how shitty they are. It's never, let me highlight my plan. Let me highlight my vision. It's always, that person's terrible and they suck and F them. How about, what am I going to do?
Yeah. No, you don't get that anymore.
It's not going to work. You know what? There's this is too much into the weeds, but one of the political strategists, I watched CBS Sunday Morning. That's when you know you're really getting old, when you're watching CBS Sunday Morning news.
48's not really old, pal.
But I've been watching that forever, though. I'll tell you that. I've been watching it since my 20s, and 60 Minutes. Anyways, this woman they interviewed who's like a political analyst, analytics, and studies the polls and all that. Her name is, you can look it up. Her name is Erica Franklin. She's a family friend. We know her. Like my wife grew up with their family, And so she's
Really?
on there, and she's talking about the political ads, and she was saying where you can't do those ads where you're like saying, this is my plan and this is what I stand for, because it doesn't work. It's the ones that work are the negative with the bombs going off and blood. Those are the ones that work. So if we were doing a political ad for Sam Howell, we should make one for Sam Howell. Instead of talking about the things that Sam Howell could do better, instead of saying that Sam Howell's mobile and maybe having a more mobile quarterback back there would help the offensive line, we would just highlight with like doom and gloom, Geno Smith, not for you, Seahawks Nation. He throws interceptions. He's terrible in the red zone. He got arrested for a DUI. It's time for Sam Howell. That's what we would do.
I know. Yeah, you know what? You're right about the DUI, and we'd have police footage of the arrest.
He was arrested. Sam Howell volunteers at the Boys and Girls Club.
You're exactly right.
That's what it would be if we made a political ad to get Sam Howell to be the starting quarterback. Not hey, Sam Howell last year was okay. Sam Howell, it does have some upside. It would just be all negative on Geno Smith.
Geno Smith went the wrong way on a handoff. Geno Smith throws footballs at opposing players. Sam Howell doesn't. Sam Howell is one of you.
That's
Yeah, and that's why I'd be voting for Sam Howell.
That's why you would be voting for Sam Howell.
That's exactly right.
And here's the thing where
wait a minute, why don't you
Sure.
come clean, man? Why don't you come? Okay, number one, there's a lot of people that probably are like going, why are you talking about this?
Oh,
It's
sure,
not gonna
sure,
happen.
sure.
But we have a bet on this, because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
bet at the beginning of the year with you, $250 that Sam Howell at some point this season would take over for Geno Smith. And it doesn't mean, and it can't be because of an injury to Geno. It has to be because Mike McDonald finally sees the light and goes, you know what, Geno's not the quarterback of the future. Why don't we see what the ceiling is with this young kid that we got from the Commanders?
Right.
So it's starting to think, I'm starting to think that maybe that's a possibility, especially if the Seahawks fall out of the playoff race. They're in the basement now of the NFC West. They went from being number one for a few weeks there, and now, of course, they're only a game out. But
what am I coming clean about? You said you need to come clean.
You said Sam Howell stinks. You don't know if he stinks or not.
Oh,
You don't know if he stinks or not. I mean, it's fair to say that in the future that he stinks, but no one can say that he stinks. No one can say that yet.
I've talked to I've talked to a couple of people that watched him during training camp and said it was.
Who were they?
You don't need to know who they were.
Why?
You know them because
were they credible?
Yes, they're credible.
Well, I mean, were they like people like you and me or something?
No, better than us.
Okay, more than us, because
more than us. And they just said
people who know football,
people
that
that
do
know
the all
football.
30 breakdowns and all that bullshit.
Yeah, they just said that he's. If
Okay.
it was close, maybe, but maybe he doesn't practice great, and you throw him in there, and you see what you got. I agree with you, because I'll say this could get real ugly real fast for this team. Look at their schedule. I can make an argument, Jim, and I think it's a pretty viable argument. They're not favored in the rest of their games, in any of them.
Well, they are.
Hold on. Okay, let's just hear me out.
Okay.
At the 49ers, not favored.
No.
Home against the Cardinals.
Well, if they were a 1-point underdog to the Rams, and the Cardinals are 5-4, and they've won 2 in a row, the Cardinals will probably be 1 or 2 point favorites.
Okay.
I'll give you that.
Okay, at the New York Jets.
Well, it'll depend on how those 49er and Cardinal games go.
Okay, but there's a chance
you're
that
right.
they're
The Jets could be a field goal favorite, or maybe 1.5, 2 points.
okay. They come back home for back-to-back games against the Packers and the Vikings.
Okay, all right. Packers might be a pick 'em.
See what I'm saying?
Vikings will be a field goal favorite.
Okay, then they go on the road at Chicago.
They'll probably be slight favorites in that game.
Maybe. And then they finish at the Rams, underdogs.
Okay. All right. Well, I stand corrected then.
No, I'm just saying. There's a.
No.
I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
there's a chance they're not favored in any one of these games,
Yeah.
and we can make. It's the NFL. Anything can happen. I get all that, but don't you see a scenario, and it's not that far fetched, that they lose every one of those games?
They could.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more possible than winning all of those games.
Right, they would say that, right? It's more plausible they would lose the rest of those games than win them. But I mean, it's Jesus, man. I mean, think about that. If they drop this, I mean, that's what do they got?
Well, to go from what 3-0 to 4-13.
Yeah, they have eight games left, right?
Yeah, 4-5 right now.
Wow.
Well, they'd be. It doesn't look like they're even going to go 9-8 or 8-9.
Yeah.
I mean, what's most realistically, what, 6-13? Or wait, not 6-12, 7-11?
No. They put
Wait,
17
6
games.
and 11,
17
7 and
games. 17 games.
Yeah.
So, what are they, 4-5 now? Well, let's see. I think 49ers is a loss. That's 4-6. I don't think they beat the Cardinals. That's 4-7. Maybe they get the Jets. That's 5-7. They'll lose the Cardinals 5-8. Packers, Vikings. I don't know. I think they lose both. They're 5-10. I think best 6-10 right now. 7-9 or 7-10. So 6-11. Oh my goodness.
I mean, what? They've lost 4 in a row at home now. 5 of their last 6.
Five. Is it 4 or 5? Whatever it is. But I mean, yeah, it's just not. And it's just the same. Here's the deal. It's just the same thing over and over again. I just can't. It's like talking about the Mariners or something. I just can't do it anymore. This offensive line, Jim, it's the worst offensive line I've ever seen. Ever. Awful. And I know they're down to their, Fant went out yesterday, so their 4th right tackle. Anthony Bradford he's just not good. He's not good. And then what is that?
To believe that Haynes must have been an awful pick because
That's right.
last week said it's not even a competition anymore.
Not even a competition.
For a while.
Not even a competition anymore. Connor Williams, I mean, I'm going to give him a little bit of a break, a little bit yesterday, because I do, and maybe I'm wrong. Do you think at least 2 of those snaps were on Geno?
Well,
one for sure. There's one for sure that's on him.
Yeah,
I think the last one was also on him too. I know it was a little high, but not that bad, I thought.
No. But I believe at the NFL level, you don't see that very often. And to see it 2 weeks in a row where the snap goes sailing over the quarterback's head.
Yeah.
And it seems, doesn't it? Because Williams, I mean, he had such a good resume coming in that it must have to be something where they rushed him in and he's just not.
He's just not healthy. Yeah, probably.
That's my guess. There's no way that what he came in with, where you heard about him and everything in his past, recent history and everything, he should be better than what he is.
Yeah,
I mean, they got rid of the 2 set. I mean, what is Olu? Is he still around? Olu's still around.
Yeah,
right?
no.
Okay, and
he
then
is
they
around
traded the
because
other guy, the Husky guy.
they brought him in the game. He was, I think, Oluwatimi was on that 4th down play. I think he was the extra lineman on the right side. I mean, they just they were
desperate at that position. I mean, they're desperate at right guard. That Bradford guy, he just looks like a fat tub of goo out there, man. I mean,
say that again. Who?
Bradford.
Oh,
I mean,
you're right about it.
And it was just one play I saw on a replay where the Florida State rookie came in and beat him, but it was like he wasn't even there. There was no resistance whatsoever. He just went by him like it was, this is kind of a turnstile. I'm just going to go through here.
Those two, that Fisk and Verse guy, they ate them up.
Yeah.
All game long. I mean, ate them up. Fisk was just throwing these guys around like a rag doll. This is a 2nd round pick, 39th overall. He's throwing Bradford around. He's throwing Connor Williams around. I mean, Verse is making plays left and right. I know the defense played well, but I'm kind of watching like Byron Murphy really didn't do anything. And I know their defense played well, but Fisk and Verse, they're in the backfield almost at every play.
So what's Geno supposed to do, Puck? What's he supposed to do?
Nothing. This is why, even like they need to find a better quarterback at some point. I don't know how you can. I don't know how you can assess the guy. And then the other thing, too,
it was
is I know,
amazing. He threw for 360 yards, getting sacked and harassed all game long. That's pretty sensational, really.
And I know a lot of people, and I know, like, you and I, because we're Cougs, we should come down on Ryan Grubb. Oh, F Grubb. This is what.
I don't think that.
What is Ryan Grubb supposed to call? Honestly, what is he supposed to do? He can't call anything because his line can't block. The one you should be angry at, if you want to be angry at anybody, is Scott Huff. Because I thought this Scott Huff guy was supposed to come in with this great reputation of developing offensive linemen. And now maybe to defend Huff, you would say, you know, he can be the best teacher in the world, but if they're not talented, they can't do anything. So that's probably the case. But I don't know. I don't know what else that Grubb's supposed to do. I would say if you want to nitpick on the fourth down play, I mean, you just aren't good at it. I think the play before, Jim, on 3rd and 1, I think that's where I would have liked to, bring them all inside, act like you're going to run the football, but then be aggressive like the Rams were in overtime. JSN's unguardable. Find him the ball. So maybe that would be a small criticism, and I think maybe a Grubb them as a team got caught up in that we want to play big boy tough football. They can't play it because they don't have the guys up front to do it.
Yeah, I never even think about criticizing Grubb or Scott Huff. I mean, what are they supposed to do? It just seems like a lack of talent more than anything else. And maybe they're supposed to be like this Perry Hill of football and turn guys who are average into great. But I don't really see that being an issue. And especially with two guys, I don't know what Huff's background is, but Grubb, it's his first year in the NFL. So don't you cut him a little slack for that? I mean, they're learning on the job a little bit. The new way of doing things in the NFL.
And I would actually agree with Sugar Shane here. You came out exactly the same formation out of the timeout. I think that's a fair criticism. I think that's fair. Because remember, they took the timeout, or the Rams took the timeout, and you were lined up in that I formation, and then you came back out of timeout, lined up in it again. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, well, what's the problem with that?
Well, because the Rams see it. They call a timeout. They adjust their defense to that, what they see. And then usually teams come out. Usually, you've seen enough football. They come out and they run something different, or they line up differently.
Well, they do, but God, how about just, hey, okay, you know what? We're going to run the ball here, and let's see you stop us. But you're right. They're not good enough to do that.
They're not good enough to do it because they don't have. I'm with you on that one. Listen, no one enjoys the I formation more than me. I love a good I formation. It's
you like the pistol too sometimes.
I love the pistol.
I hear you talking pistol.
Well, hey, you give me a pistol and give me an I formation and a smoke, and I am good for a Saturday and a Sunday.
Yeah.
But you also got to know your personnel, and this offensive line. I mean, all of them. Cross is the only good one. I mean, he's it. They got one offensive lineman that's good. Tomlinson is not good. Williams is not good, but I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt because of the injury. We've discussed Bradford, and then Jarrell is a rookie 6th-round draft pick. He shouldn't even been playing, but he has to play because of all the injuries.
Yeah, he had a rough day with 3 penalties yesterday, and the play callers, Grubb, I wouldn't know what to do. I'm sure he goes home second and third guesses himself. I should have called this. I should have called that. But no, and it's not Geno's issue. I mean, granted, do I want to win $250 from you? Yeah, but I don't sit there and actively root against Geno.
But I would.
Do you think if he was a pitcher, he would have been yanked yesterday?
Yes, but I agree with you that he can't get to what he wants to get to, and because of the offensive line. But also, I mean, come on, how long has he been in the league? That was one of the more egregious interceptions. The first one in the red zone. It was 1st and goal. Throw the ball away.
I know,
you can't throw it in the end zone. I mean, what are you doing? He almost got in trouble on the touchdown pass at the end of the half to JSN. He did the same. No. To JSN over the middle and the touchdown. He kind of just threw that one up too. He's lucky that actually didn't get picked.
Well, I'm with you, and everybody said, "Oh, worst decision he's ever made. Worst throw I've seen in an NFL game." But Geno explained it pretty well. He said he was going to try and throw it out of the back of the end zone. That's what he said, but he got hit right when he threw it because it looked terrible in real time, and it even looked terrible on the replay. But later on, when Geno spoke about it, you can see, I believe him. He was trying to throw it out of the back of the end zone. He was trying to get rid of it, but he got hit right when he threw it.
Yeah, well,
which makes it look even worse. And
okay,
then,
so maybe that was the case. Maybe that was the case, but I don't know. He had a lot of time, a lot of time back there. Just throw it away sooner. If you don't see it right away, get rid of it. I mean, but he can't. The one to Barner, I mean, he clearly, there should have been a penalty because the guy held him, so there should have been a flag there, but it wasn't called. Here's the thing: even if he does complete it to Barner, there, he's not going anywhere. Because the guy was right there. I mean, he's going to get like 1 yard or maybe 2. But
you think about in real time how much time you have to make that call. I mean, because every single time in practice when they run that play, and I know it's practice, it's not the real thing, but Barner peels out, gets the ball, or at the very least, if Barner doesn't catch it, it's going to be an incomplete pass. So that was. It sounds like I'm making excuses for Geno because you know why? I am making excuses for Geno. And I can see both of those interceptions, as bad as they were at the time, as bad as they were in the red zone, that there's an explanation for both of them. Well,
I mean, I don't think, as I thought earlier in the year, that I thought it was going to be far-fetched that you could possibly win $250. But I just think if they lose and they get to the Rams game or the Bears game and they've lost, let's say they lose to the Niners and the Cardinals and the Jets and the Cardinals again, Packers, Vikings. I mean, at this point, why not? You have them. Just let him. I don't know if he starts a game.
Why are you saying all this when you wanted to double down on the bet last night?
Oh, because I just want to. It's fun. Why not?
Yeah, because you don't. So you're actually concerned about your 250.
I'm going to be concerned about my 250 if what I think is going to happen, that they lose to the Niners, come back home and lose to the Cardinals, and then if they don't win the Jets game and they're coming back, then they got to go to Arizona. I think if they lose the next 3, including the Jets game, that's when I'm going to get real concerned that I may be out my 250.
And then at that point, if I say I want to double down, you'll say no.
Yeah, exactly right.
And you'll be looking for a buyout.
And then I'm looking for a buyout, but
I don't think Sam Howell stinks, and I don't think he's a better option than Geno. And the other part of it, you're right, he's more mobile than Geno, but Geno still seems to be able to move around pretty well, getting throws off and picking up yards every once in a while. But Sam Howell he led the NFL in sacks, I think, at Washington last year.
Yeah,
I mean, he was dropped more than any other quarterback. And so at least he'd have experience of working behind a shitty offensive line.
That's right. Yes. I don't think he's the answer. They don't have the quarterback on their roster. I think a quarterback that I wouldn't mind, them at least kicking the tires on is the guy that we saw. You'll see it here in Seattle, but the guy you saw on Sunday Night Football. I mean, Darnold will be a free agent at the end of the year. We'll see what they do. I mean, they need to find. I mean, they need to find a quarterback at some point. But again, number one, they need to address the offensive line. I mean, and you know what else is just, here's the thing I'm the most surprised about with this football team. It's not so much the offensive line. I mean, they gave up 7 sacks yesterday, 11 quarterback hits, 8 tackle for losses. Here's what I'm most surprised about, because I thought when they hired Mike Macdonald, and when you hear Macdonald talk, you hear about his resume, and he come across as very detail-oriented?
He does.
Yeah. This is the most undisciplined, sloppy football team I've seen in a decade.
It's been pretty bad.
The amount of penalties, the amount of pre-snap penalties that they have, the not getting the right guys on the field, like generally being confused what's going on is a major red flag. I mean, they are undisciplined and sloppy. And like Carroll got kind of accused of that sometimes. My God, Carroll makes him look like he's the most detail-oriented coach in the history of the National Football League. I mean, they lead the league in number of penalties. They're fifth in penalty yards. They have the third most delay of game penalties in the NFL. They have 17 false starts. That leads the league. They're second in the league in offensive holding. They're 8.3 penalties a game, the most in the league, fifth most penalties, and they had 12 penalties yesterday for 95 yards. That is an unorganized, sloppy, undisciplined football team. And I go back to a few weeks ago. When was Tyler Lockett said, hey, we should probably take walkthroughs a little bit more seriously? Like, that's a bad look for Mike Macdonald.
And the other side of that, though, like some people would cite that, there have been Super Bowl champions that have led the league in penalties. So you need to kind of discount that a little bit. But I understand where you're coming from because they do seem disorganized, disheveled, all those kind of words.
Yeah.
I mean, they took a timeout so they could avoid a 12 men on the field penalty. The other thing, the delay of game during, the punt, the special team situation. So it's just... Well, it goes without saying. I mean, they're just not good enough to be able to handle any kind of penalties like that and still be a winning team in the NFL.
Yeah, it's just, I know that these were issues under Carroll. I get it. But I'm telling, and remember how many times they would let the play clock on offense go down to like 1 or 2. I know that was the issues. What I just reiterate, what I'm surprised about was the MO for McDonald was just how, again, detail-oriented he is. Working with the Harbaughs. This was part of his reputation, this kind of, young mastermind genius. But he was like a real stickler for cleaning up these things. That's why they hired him, not only to clean up the defense, but to clean up all this other BS that happens to them, the pre-snap stuff. It's worse than ever. And
yeah.
I'm really, really surprised by that.
No, yeah, you're right. I mean, because it's just a different variety of penalties you're getting too. That should be with a little more detail or attention to detail. You're avoiding those. You're putting yourself in a better situation. And boy, it was just one after another yesterday.
It's just one, yeah. I mean, there's just, his red zone, Geno's red zone numbers have been terrible this year. In the red zone, he's completing 47% of his passes, got 3 picks. Inside the 10-yard line this year, he's 3 for 17. It gets worse for inside the 5. He's 1 for 10. So that's a problem. I'll say this, though. The defense looked great yesterday. I really did. I thought the defense played awesome. I mean, Reek Woolen dropped that, he did not have a good game. He dropped that interception in overtime and then obviously got burned for the game winner. But I thought the defense played really, really well. I mean, they gave up 2.8 yards on the ground. They were 3 for 13 on third down. I mean, they held them in check. Right? I mean, 13 points really
the run
regulation.
defense was greatly improved. It wasn't the defense's fault yesterday.
No, not at all.
The Rams scored 13 points in regulation off of the defense.
Exactly. Yeah.
If you throw out the 103-yard interception return,
that's not on them.
No, they were good yesterday. They were certainly good enough to win, especially there at home. But yeah, those Geno numbers in the red zone. Don't you give him some credit though too, for what he said after the game?
Oh, like apologizing to the fans.
You ever heard a player say anything like that? Like when a pitcher, gives up 8 earned runs or something, do you see him come in and say, hey, I want to apologize to the Mariner fans and the city of Seattle and Tacoma,
I'm sure it's happened before, but yeah. Washtuckna. I'm sure it's happened before, but yeah, I did appreciate that. His body language.
Never heard that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, probably, but I can't recall it off the top of my head.
No, I can't remember hearing that. It's one thing, like, hey, God, I let my teammates down today, and I feel bad. The coaches, they had a good game plan. I let them down. But then he extends it to the city of Seattle and the fans and, everybody watching, all the 12s.
The Brown Bear Car Wash. See, that's the stuff. That's the stuff that you're not going to see in the Sam Howell political ad.
No.
Geno's not like one of you. Arrested on 520, throws his tablet on the ground. Sam Howell, a volunteers at the Seattle Humane Shelter.
It's time for a change.
Yeah.
It's time
was
for Sam Howell.
He was apologizing, and it's like, okay, Geno, apology accepted. That was really cool. And weren't you happy for him too? Like, just the human element of the game. Because to me, it started seeming like, okay, wait a minute. I thought maybe we'd see Sam Howell kind of warming up on the sideline a little bit, and that they maybe would bring him in. I mean, I knew that wasn't a strong possibility, but if he had done that, and reporters asked him later, "Hey, Mike, what were you thinking there?" Well, we just felt like Geno,
we needed a spark.
Give him a break. Yeah, we wanted to see if Howell could give us a spark. But Geno coming in, did you think he had the yips? Maybe I thought maybe he'd throw another interception there.
Well, he should have had another interception in regulation.
Yeah.
Hold on. With I wrote it down. With 1:14 left in the game, remember that one that was over the middle. That
hit the guy right in the numbers too.
Hit him right in the numbers, man, and he dropped it. Darius Williams. I mean, he should have been picked a fourth time with 1:14 to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it just.
Well, no, I was starting to think maybe he's got the yips, like a second baseman who can't find the first baseman anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he did.
But look at what he did though. He had redemption there.
Yeah.
Didn't he? I mean, he got his team in position again.
Yeah,
and it wasn't his fault that they didn't score in overtime.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I just not going to come down. I mean, I don't think he's the answer quarterback. I'm just not going to be super critical of him or super critical of Ryan Grubb. When you have literally the worst offensive line in football, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
You can't. There's nothing you can get to. You can't even get to I'd love to know for Ryan Grubb to honestly answer, how much of the percentage of the playbook can you get to?
Oh,
I don't know what it is. 20%, 25. I'd love to know.
It can't be much, Puck. It just can't be. I mean, he's got to keep guys in to chip block and do all. I mean, he's so limited on what can be successful, and it's got to be tough for a guy like that to go from what he had at Washington, where everything always worked, to.
Well, why did it always work though?
Because he had good players.
Well, yes, but he had a what?
And the best offensive line in the country.
He had the best offensive line in the country. That's what he had. The best offensive line in the country. Won the award. Did they not win it 2 years in a row? Whatever that's called.
Well, they won it last year.
Okay. Again, the best offensive line. Now, do you think on that? There's part of me that's gone back and forth on this one a little bit. And I don't really have an opinion either way. And this is the worst thing, right? Because you're supposed to be like, oh, this is how I feel. And if you disagree with me, F you, man. The overtime field goal. You think they should have kicked it?
No, there wasn't any part of me that thought they should kick it there.
Yeah, I was split on that.
They were like 14 yards away from just wrapping it up with a touchdown.
I was split. Can I tell you why I was split?
Because you felt like they weren't going to make it.
Well, yeah, yes. But because they're not good in those 4th and 1. They're not good. They can't pick up a yard. They never can pick up a yard. But the main reason why I thought that they should have kicked it, and I was going back and forth because I'm like, God, you kick it, you give them a chance now to go down and win the game. I get it. You want to be aggressive. The analytics are going to tell you to go for it anyways. You should be able to get a yard. I understand all of that. But the main reason why I think I wanted them to kick that field goal there in overtime was their defense was playing their asses off. And I just thought that their defense was going to have one more stomp on them. And I think what it did, and it's interesting, is you have a defensive-minded coach who it appeared didn't trust his defense. But you could also flip that around and say, no, that's not why he did it. He did it because in this league, you should be able to get a yard, and which I understand. This is why I know it's the worst, like, sports talk thing to bring up. I'm just, I'm split on it.
Well,
I see both sides of it.
The other part of it, Puck, okay, so they scored 13 points in regulation. And then you think about it, though, that's Matt Stafford you're giving the ball to in overtime. A Hall of Fame quarterback, and he proved why.
Without, but
in that
I know,
last
but
drive.
without his second best wide receiver, who had been ejected for the stupidest play in the world. I can't believe Puka Nacua got ejected for that. That was dumb. I don't know. I don't think it's. Listen, I understand why they went for it. I get it. But I also see the other side of it. And it's okay to be on the fence on stuff, people. I see the other side of it. And I probably, watching it live, leaned more towards take the points, kick the field goal, and just see if your defense was playing so well that day. And I thought that he kind of sent a message that he didn't believe in his defense a little bit. I was surprised that a defensive-minded coach made that decision.
Yeah, the defense wasn't quite as good in the second half as they were in the first. But, yeah, I mean, there's different ways to look at that, certainly. But there wasn't a single part of me that, even after they didn't make it, with hindsight always being the way to go, but I was glad they went for it. I just thought, what the hell? You know, just get after it. Don't give the ball back to Matt Stafford. Just don't do that.
Jim, all right. So we touched on the Seahawks. Sam Howell time on discipline. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow afternoon at 4:00. I know everyone's going to be focused on something else that's happening tomorrow around 4 or 5 o'clock. I will be focused in on ESPN and Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and all those other dorks on that network when they unveil the first college football playoff rankings. And where are the Washington State Cougars, America's team, by the way, Refit? Stop trying to steal our line, dork. America's team. Where does America's team come out tomorrow in the college football playoff rankings? Have you played around at all with the ESPN playoff predictor?
I haven't. Well, I guess I've played around. I don't know how to play around with it. But I've looked at the playoff predictor, and I've looked at the teams that are ahead of the Cougs. Yeah. And I've already looked at the schedule for next week and what we need to have happen besides us beating Utah State.
I'm going to give it to you right now.
Yeah.
Okay? Right now, the Cougs have a 17% chance of making the college football playoff. Okay? Which is not bad. I mean, 17% is
not bad at all.
Better than zero. Here's what I like about. I think it's a major long shot they get in, but I'm just going to say this. They are one of 24 teams that will be talked about tomorrow, and I think where this program has been and what has happened to it in the last year and a half is pretty damn cool. All right? They're going to be mentioned tomorrow for a minute or so about, well, they may have a shot here, and you know what's happened to them. That would be a pretty cool story. And you know what? I'm kind of all for it. I think it's a Hail Mary, still a long shot, but at least there's a chance. But here's where it gets better. If you can play around with this playoff predictor on ESPN. If they win out, and they will be favored in the remaining, what do they have, 4 games left? Their remaining schedule. They will be favored. Utah State, New Mexico, Oregon State, Wyoming. Yeah, 4. They'll be favored in all one of those games, all right? They then jump up to a 34% chance to make it. And the playoff predictor, based on what I ran it this morning, has them in the playoffs. The 11th seed taking on the Fighting Mike Gastineaus in the first round. The Indiana Hoosiers in Bloomington. You, me, and Gastineau will be there. We're going to do a pregame party. The Battle of the Crimsons.
Okay, so now wait a minute. So 34% if we go 11-1, and that's regardless of what happens with those other teams that are ahead of us right now.
I mean, if you go and do it, the playoff predictor, and you can mark how many games they win. If you go in and say they win every one of their games, it would have them in there as an 11th seed, and they probably, figure out whatever, their analytics tells them that the other games would go. It has them in there an 11th seed. It actually has Colorado in there as well as a 12th seed. It has Boise State as one of the top 4 teams to get the automatic bye.
Yeah, well, Boise State, we keep looking at it because there's a couple teams that we need to win, one of them being Boise State, and they're taking care of business. And then you look at Texas Tech, and what they did, that helped us out. They beat Iowa State this week. and then we beat Texas Tech. And so if they could win the Big 12 somehow, or at least finish in the top 2 or 3 in that conference.
We got such a gift this weekend with everything that happened. With Texas Tech winning that game, beating Iowa State, with Houston taking down Kansas State. Actually, with Washington winning helps.
Yeah.
Boise State.
God, I was still rooting for USC to get in the end zone at the end, though, weren't you?
Of course you were. Of course you were. Hey, hey, Washington fans, I know you're on the chat here. Can I just talk to you real quick here? Washington fans, talking to you. Does the victory count, though, since USC thoroughly outgained you? Does the win still count or not? Because I'm under the impression, listening to you guys kind of complain all season long, that it doesn't really count because, and I'm talking to Jordan, it doesn't really count because you outgained the other team. So in theory, you really should have won the game. So does it not count now that USC outgained you by a lot, or did not? I don't know how does that work?
Yeah, and then I always like the 1-2s. It's like, well, you guys are only 7-1 because of that cupcake schedule you're playing. And I'm thinking, yeah, shit, man, we shouldn't have scheduled you guys. You were part of the cupcakes. God, you guys are no good. And really, Puck, just to be serious for a second, even as Cougs, and we're loving this 7-1, we do realize, and you've said it before, I've probably said it occasionally too, we realize we would not be 7-1 if we were playing a Pac-12 schedule.
100%.
We know that.
I'm not an idiot.
But can you just let us have our fun anyway? Can we you kicked us to the curb. Yeah. Can we just rise up and have, and we also understand, I think we understand that if we do slip in at number 11 or number 12, that we'll probably get our doors blown off in that first game. We understand all of that. But in the meantime, can we just have our fun? Is that okay with everyone? Is that all right?
Hey. I like our chances against those Hoosiers. I like our chances against Gastineau's team. Huh? I watched them against Washington.
Well, we'd have a shot against them. Dicker versus that wise-ass Signetti guy, the popping off all the time. Yeah. Well, okay, 2 and done then, maybe.
Yeah. Can you just imagine, as the once great Dave, well, he's still with us, as the Graz used to say, the Dare to Dream campaign. Can you just I'm going to dare to dream.
Or the Dare to Dream Express.
The Dare to Dream Express. I'm going to, come on.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And the schedule, yes, you're right. Everyone is right. It's been a cupcake schedule.
Yeah,
but we've been known to lose to cupcakes too over the years.
We are. You don't have to keep pointing it out to us, people. What you said earlier. Yeah, you're not playing anyone. I mean, Husky fans, when you say that, you're throwing yourself under the bus, by the way, as well. We get that. We understand, but none of that matters. None of that matters to us.
And you talk about America's team, Puck, and I know that you know. In the past, it was always like, I got America's team, haha. Yeah. But we are America's team this year. Can you imagine? Everyone's going to rally around us like, hey, honey, look at this team out there in little old Pullman, Washington, what they did to them. Nobody wanted them. Nobody wanted the orphans of college football. Yeah. And then look at what they've done.
Yeah. And here's my message to our brethren down in Corvallis. When we get down there and we're still... You have no other blemishes on our schedule, and we know we've got Wyoming the final game. Lay down your sword, Beavers. Lay it down.
Don't play the chainsaw.
I don't want to hear that fucking chainsaw one time. Lay down. Hey, Beaver fans, lay down your sword. Let us walk into the end zone whenever we want.
You know, it's so cool, Puck. I mean, I love living in Bend anyway, but you see a lot of Duck fans down here, but you also see a lot of Beaver fans. And every time I see a Beaver fan, man, it's just like, hey, go Beavs. And they're like, go Beavs. And I go, God, I'm a Coug, man, and we're one and the same. We're both pulling for each other. And that's going to be a fun setting there in Corvallis on November 23rd because we're all going to be hugging each other. We can all relate to what's going on here.
Yeah, we're all going to hug each other, but are they going to hug on the field? And then at some point, Bray, doesn't Bray have a connection to – Bray grew up in Pullman too, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right. There's something connected to –
Yeah. At what do they hug in the middle, kind of shake hands, and then what I would do if I was Oregon State is before the kickoff, just take a knee and say, "We forfeit."
That would be cool. And that's, I mean, really, Puck. That's.
Can you imagine Oregon State saying that?
I don't even know
we're gonna forfeit.
I don't know what the word is for it, but like if Oregon State was the team that beat us to keep us out of the college football playoff,
my God.
I don't think irony is the word, but there's some word that sucks.
It
that
would be
pertain to that.
terrible. Can you imagine if they were the team to knock us out? They'd cost themselves money. They financially benefit from us getting in.
Yeah. And how cool, okay, like if you want to just get on that Dare to Dream Express and fire it up to like 300 miles an hour.
Oh, it's going hard.
How about Boise State and the Cougs for the national championship?
Yeah, a rematch.
The new Pac-12 in 2026. Boise State and Washington State. The ratings would be through the roof for that. God, Genty had run for 400 yards and we'd lose. But,
he'd have 500. If ever he had 550 yards on us. I'm just going to soak it up. I'm going to soak it up this weekend. We're going. I haven't been since the first game of the season. We'll be there for the thriller that is Utah State. 7:30 kickoff on the Palouse.
Oh, that's right. Inter Bay can't lose again, can they?
Inter Bay's out. Inter Bay has been knocked out.
So you can go to the Cougs
Northwest now. Junior football playoffs. Yes, we can go.
Inter Bay!
Eagles!
There you go. I'm thinking about coming up, too. Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, we'll stop on by.
You got a free ticket for me? Or?
I don't. It's all taken. The whole tribe's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Our people that sit around us going to be, hey, you're finally back here. Thanks for selling your tickets every game. Hey,
yeah. A night game, November 9th.
Oh. But it's going to be nice, though. It's clear. Clear and cold. Yeah, clear and cold. Clear and cold.
All right. Yeah. All right. No, let's just soak it all in, Puck.
Of course.
Soak it all in.
You have to. I mean, my God, I'm just telling you that tomorrow, again, and I don't know, maybe it doesn't last this weekend. Maybe they kick a game against Utah State. Maybe they kick it against New Mexico, whatever. But they are legitimately, whether it's for 30 seconds tomorrow or a minute, going to bring them up. Hey, here are the Cougs. They come in at number 19. Everybody knows what has happened to them. Left for dead, not a conference, fighting for their survival. All that. And hey, they've got remaining teams on their schedule, not that great, but if things go their way and they continue to win, they've got an outside shot. And they'll talk probably real quick about, well, if Texas Tech keeps winning, and now we probably do have to, the best thing would be for Washington to knock off Oregon at the end of the year. Now, honestly,
Penn State this week.
Or Penn State this week. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. 100%. Honestly, as much as you don't want to root for them.
Not 100%.
I know. Okay, I agree with you. Not 100%.
I would still like to see them lose by 50 in Happy Valley.
I agree, too. But as much as we want that to happen, really, the best thing for us is for them to, run the table. That'd be the best thing ever.
God,
Come on, Fish. You can do it. You in that terrible sweatshirt and that bad visor, and doesn't look like you've been sleeping, and you don't know what a razor looks like. Come on. You can do it.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me give you what Softy did, that either-or shit that he always does, right? You can only have one. Okay. Okay, would you want the Cougs to make it into the college football playoff at number 12, but that would also mean Washington winning at Penn State and winning at Oregon? Or would you rather have the Huskies lose by 50 at Penn State, lose by 50 in Eugene, and have the Cougs be number 13 and be the first team out?
I'd rather them win and we be the 12th seed.
I'll go for the 50-point losses. I'll take that.
We would be in the college football playoff.
I just hate Washington, okay? I hate them that much. I don't want them.
You're terrible.
No, I want them to lose by 50, both of them.
You are just, it would help us if they
win
out.
I know. I'm sorry.
So your hatred for them supersedes.
Yeah, I almost enjoy Husky.
Your excitement.
I enjoy Husky losses as much as Cougar wins.
You are an idiot.
No, I'm not. Well, yeah, in some respects I am, but on that one, yeah, I can't quite get there. I wanted USC to score. I mean, what do you want? I mean, 50
I
years
understand that.
Washington. I can't
I
change
understand
overnight.
that. I understand that. I'm with you. I'm watching that game too with a bunch of Husky fans, and I'm thinking, God, this would be great if USC would score here. I'm not going to celebrate, but I'll do the under the table fist pump. But we win either way with it. We win as fans if they were to have lost that game, but then we win because our school gets the benefit for beating them earlier this year. So sorry, I disagree with you on this one, man.
That's fine.
I disagree with you on this one.
Yeah, I think it's proof that I'm a truer Coug than you are, but whatever.
Yeah. I want them in the playoffs.
I've been to 3 games this year, and you've been to what, 1?
1 game.
Of course, 3's not that many. I mean, God, I'm far from being a true Coug.
All right. Hey, college basketball starts tonight. Get your first look at David Riley, 8 o'clock, ESPN Plus, taking on Portland State. And thank you to the college basketball people that have Baylor and Gonzaga at 8:30 on ESPN2. Idiots.
Hey, is it easy to get ESPN Plus? Because we got a lot of Cougar Hoop games on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, just you have a smart TV, just download the app.
Okay. All right.
Call me if you need
know how
help.
that goes.
It's probably not going to go well.
Probably
All right.
not.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
All right, Puck. Take care. Go Cougs.
Yeah, go Cougs. There he is. Jim Moore, the go-to guy, joins us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Again, brought to you by Clean Streak Professional Window and Exterior Cleaning Services. Also, Bright Owl Lighting, professional Christmas lighting expert installers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to talk a little more Seahawks football. The Ground Puck Podcast with Curtis Crabtree, Fox 13, Tim Booth, Seattle Times. It is brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, the finest brewery in all of the land. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodie Zaffa IPA, Lucille, Rogers Pilsner. They've got a wonderful tap room that is open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. Curtis, good day to you. Tim, good day to you. Boy, that was Tim, that was the weirdest football game I've ever seen in my life yesterday. I was watching the Seattle Seahawks. We're the same age. I had flashes of the 1990s.
Yeah, probably that stretch of, but after the terrible season of 92, so that stretch of like 93 to 96 where they were trying to figure out what they were and who they were, that kind of felt like it was a game out of that era.
Yeah, it was awful. I don't know where you got Curtis, where you want to start. I feel we do this show every single week and we start with this damn offensive line. I mean, there's going to be a lot of criticism that's going to be thrown Geno's way for his performance of 3 interceptions. There, of course, is going to be second guessing with Ryan Grubb and the offensive play calling. I do want to touch in on the defense because I thought the defense played well yesterday. Certainly gave them plenty of opportunities to win that game. But Curtis, I keep coming down to this with any criticism thrown at Geno or Ryan Grubb is, what are they supposed to do if the guys up front can't block? I mean, that's real. I mean, I don't know what they can actually get to in their playbook to do anything with that performance they're getting up front with those 5 guys.
I think it was last week I said 80% of this team's problems is the offensive line. It's higher. It's probably like 90%. I mean, that performance is it's killing them. They are unable to win football games with the play of their offensive line. You have 6 penalties on the offensive line yesterday, 3 holding penalties. Anthony Bradford called for 2. Mike Jarrell called for 3. Laken Tomlinson got 1. Then you just have the execution areas of it where Geno Smith is getting pressured on damn near over half of his snaps yesterday. You get the 3rd and 4th and 1s in overtime. Can't get it because you can't block anybody, can't move anybody on the line of scrimmage. In the running game. I mean, that's it. That's the problem right there. The rest of the roster, special teams I thought were great yesterday. Defense made it massive strides from what their issues have been over recent weeks. But it's a replacement level offensive line mostly across the board, and it's killing them in their ability to try to win football games right now.
I mean, Tim, they know that. As a play caller, what is he supposed to do as he is lining up play calls? I mean, we can dissect the 3rd down, 3rd and 1 play, 4th and 1. Should they not got out of something? But at the end of the day, it's almost, Tim, it doesn't matter what he calls because they can't execute it.
It's, if you believe in a higher power, it's like, okay, I'm going to call this play and pray that we actually have enough execution to be able to run it somewhat successfully. I don't know why yesterday kind of stands out above everything else this year, but yesterday really felt like the ultimate example of how much that offensive line is hamstringing everything that they want to try and do offensively. Maybe it was the fact that it seemed like Geno had no time to throw. Maybe it was the fact that it felt like Ken Walker was having to do even more improvising in the backfield just to make some positive yards in the ground game. Maybe it was the fact that Zach Charbonnet had nowhere really to run in the few opportunities that he got yesterday. But it really felt like yesterday was the tipping point. That was like, okay, we knew this was not good. Now here's the starkest example of a game that Seattle absolutely should have figured out a way to win. And because of this collective unit, they're walking out with their 5th loss in the last 6 games. It's back to your original question. I don't know what you do if you're Ryan Grubb, other than come up with play designs and blocking schemes that get the ball out of Geno's hand the second he has it from Connor Williams, if he gets it from Connor Williams, and try and create some sort of offense in that way. Because anytime that he was asked to drop back and stand in the pocket and let his receivers, run routes and push the ball downfield, it just wasn't there yesterday. And again, it's been a problem all year, but yesterday was kind of the ultimate example of it, sort of really standing out to those of us who were there.
Curtis, I mean, what is going on with Connor Williams and the snaps? And how many of those yesterday do you put on him? There's one at least on Geno, and I kind of side with the 3rd one also being on him as well. But what do you think?
Are you talking about the interceptions?
No, I'm talking about the snaps.
Okay,
he had 3 bad snaps again yesterday, but I thought the last 2. Well, I thought
the last. Geno was playing patty cake all day, trying to grab balls that were, outside of his catch zone, basically. You ever seen those like reaction time games where you've got like the different lights on the wall? It was like he was doing this, trying to hit all the different lights up there, trying to catch the football. Yesterday with the way Connor Williams was throwing it around there. It was a brutal afternoon for the set quarterback operation yesterday. And yeah, Geno got his hands on the first one that went through his hands. You would like to see him be able to catch that one. The second one either came early, caught him by surprise, whatever. I don't think he got his hands on that one. And then, yeah, you've got, he's reaching out to his side, one-handing catch it, to bring the ball in on those shotgun snaps throughout that game. It was ugly. It was really not pretty. And, I mean, this is not new. If you'd seen this in the first game against Denver back in week 1, maybe you wouldn't have been shocked given the fact that Connor Williams had only been here about 3 weeks at that point. Certainly wasn't a rainy day yesterday on the field. I mean, some dampness, sure, but like, I don't think you can put that on the operation. That just, you already have the issues with the right side of the offensive line. Now you throw in like the center quarterback exchange being a problem too. Like, what's Geno supposed to do if he can't get the football? And he played into some of the snap issues, but that was an offense that, even with all of the dumpster fire in front of him on the offensive line yesterday, still put up 420 plus yards yesterday. Yeah. He threw for what, 360 or so? Man, you need some hazard pay, because what he's going through right now is just non-functional for an offense over the long term.
There's been, Tim, there's a big reputation of Scott Huff when he was coming over from UW to the Seahawks, and I just wonder. I mean, you can be the best coach in the world, right? But if you don't have talent, I mean, and to be fair, he's on his 4th string offensive, he's right tackle. But if you don't have talent, you can't coach it. I mean, there's only so much coaching you can do. And I just wonder, like, what else he can do or try, or I don't know. I mean, Anthony Bradford, what concerns me, Tim, is if Anthony Bradford is the best you have at right guard, boy, that is just such a a damning commentary on Haynes.
Oh, absolutely. It's 100%. And that's, you can justify what you've seen at right tackle because of the injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, you can explain it away and understand, okay, we have a guy who played D2 football that we took in the 7th round, a flyer on. He shouldn't be in that situation, but here we are. This is what we have to live with. The fact you took Christian Haynes that high and he has not won the job from Anthony Bradford is an absolute indictment on not only Christian Haynes for not doing what is being asked of him to take that job, but also the scouting and the decision-making process of John Schneider and his staff to think that this was a guy who was deemed one of the most NFL ready, pro ready interior offensive linemen in theory, coming out of Connecticut last year. And for him not to be a plug and play capable player at this point, when you have massive issues in that spot, is a complete failure on multiple levels. It's a failure of the player. It's a failure of the coaching. It's a failure of the scouting that this guy has not been able to find a way to be a contributor for you, and that you are rolling Anthony Bradford out there to be your starting right guard right now, which is essentially the equivalent of a turnstile based around the way that he has played. So I back to Scott Huff. I don't know what you can do. You can only do so much as a coach. There's only so many different blocking schemes. There's only so many different ways you can try and help your offense without suffocating what your offense needs to do. You can't keep 8 guys into block and send 2 guys out in a route. That doesn't work. So at this point, I other than you make massive changes, you flip Laken Tomlinson to the right side, or you put Jason Peters at 900 years old in there at right guard. Like, short of that, I don't know what they do at this point.
Well, Jim and I have talked about this. I think the one thing too with Bradford is he just looks out of shape. He just does. He does not. I mean, I get offensive linemen are big. He looks just sloppy. I mean, he just I mean, and I think that's part of it too. He's getting beat easily. I mean, that Fisk guy owned him yesterday. I mean, absolutely owned him, and he also owned Connor Williams there as well. What did you guys think? Tim, you go first. What did you guys think of the 4th down decision? You agree with it?
Yeah, I thought it was the right call. I thought it was the right call to go for it. I thought it was a terrible play call. You had just tried to run in between the tackles on 3rd and 1 and not been able to get it. I would have tried to get out on the edge in some way, but I had zero problem with them going there because of exactly what happened. You knew that Matt Stafford had the capability to hit a couple big plays, and all of a sudden they're in range to win the game with a touchdown anyway. So I thought it was the right call to go for it there.
Curtis?
Yeah, 100% go for it. Like, there's zero issue with that to me. It's the fact that you have 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, can't get it. Like, in overtime, touchdown wins it for you. The other team can then win it with a field goal. Like, I think even more so than it would be in regulation, it's skewed in favor of going for it. And yeah, play didn't work. They couldn't block it because they have the offensive line they have. Like, they don't have an ability to open the running lane. They didn't do it basically at all yesterday for Ken Walker at any point in the game. And
well, on that final drive they did, though. That I understand why they felt confident in it, because that final drive was set up really because of him. He was running it down. They were running it down their throats on those first few plays. But
they had a couple runs, but like overall on the day, I mean, would they average Ken averaged 3.3 yards a carry?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like they were carving out the Grand Canyon there for him to run through the afternoon.
It's one of these sports talk things, right? You're supposed to be like on Jim and I were talking about this. So you have to have one opinion, and that's the only right one. I was real conflicted yesterday. I was like 52% on the side of I would have kicked it, and here's why I would have kicked it. One, I mean, listen, it's a yard. You should get a yard in the NFL. And to your point, Curtis, yeah, I mean, it ends it. Game's over. You don't want to give the ball back to Matt Stafford. Those are all, I mean, I can't argue against those. Why I would have probably kicked it, and then you bring in your own risk that Myers is shaky, and I don't know if there's anyone that's confident in Jason Myers right now. But your defense was playing well. I mean, it really was playing well. For the most, it had given up 13 points. And it had kept Matt Stafford really in check. I thought that he was going to lean towards that, Tim, because of his defensive background. He's got two of those hats on. He's very analytics, very analytic driven, but he's also a defensive guy at heart. And I thought he would lean towards kicking and going, you know what? My defense has shown me today that they can get off the field. I'm going to trust them one more time. That was the only thing, as I was kind of weighing it yesterday, just sitting around watching it, that I thought they were going to lean towards the field goal.
I think I understand that, but I also think that was your opportunity to win the game. If you kick a field goal there, again, you're with the way the NFL is and the way kickers are now. I mean, it's 25. If you're getting the ball at the 30, it's 25 yards and you're in field goal range. That's one pass.
Yeah.
At this point, that's one chunk play. So if you kick the field goal there and you give up one chunk play, which is not unreasonable for Matthew Stafford and that offense to get one chunk play, they're in field goal range. And can you put another drive together with the way your offensive line is to get down the field to try and kick another field goal and actually win the game? Or are you looking at either losing or you walk out of there with a tie, which, okay, a tie is better than a loss. But I just feel like with the way those first handful of plays of overtime went, they were, it made sense in that moment to, it made sense to go for it. And I felt if you're kicking there, I think you're asking for a different level of, obviously everyone's disappointed because the play call was terrible and the play didn't work. But if you kick there and then you give up the touchdown, you're looking back on it going, it was 4th and 1. Why the hell didn't we just go for it?
Curtis, I thought
maybe in a 10-minute overtime, you may not even get that other possession anyway. So at that point, you're just kind of playing not to lose with the field goal instead of playing to win. And frankly, they needed to win yesterday.
Yeah. I think that what's interesting, you go back and I think, to me, it's not so much the 4th down play. I think the 3rd and 1 is where you probably should have lined up big and heavy like you were going to run it. And then that's where you slip out and hit the pass. It's kind of what the Rams did to you for the game winner. They kind of line up, you look like they're going to run, and bam, they hit that over the top. I think that 3rd and 1, they look back on it, maybe like we should have done something, show run, but now we're slipping out JSN for something, and he's been unguardable throughout the whole game. And I also think back, Curtis, if you go back and look at it, and it's easy, you slow it down frame by frame by frame. That 3rd and 1 play, I don't know what happened, but it's the one reason I really dislike shotgun when you need to get a yard. Because the running back has zero momentum. Zero. Because he's standing next to or right behind the quarterback, and there's no momentum taking him to the line of scrimmage. And I just think he's best when he's going downhill and going hard at times. And I would have liked to see them under center and just give it to him like that. But also, if you go back and look at it, for a split second, there is a hole there. And he hesitates for some reason. I don't know why he did. Maybe it was... I think maybe Verse was coming off the edge, but I thought for a split second, Curtis, it was there for them to get, especially on the 3rd down play.
Well, I think that's kind of the give and take of Ken Walker in some regards. So, because there are going to be times where he's able to make a cut to somewhere you aren't expecting and make a play out of something that isn't there, and then sometimes he's going to miss that chance, trying the exact same thing and ending up in a worse off situation. I'd have to go look at the play a little bit closer again to kind of get a better sense for it, but. Also, I mean, maybe that's why, one of the reasons you do go out of shotgun is to try to sell that you are in a passing situation there. It's all, I mean, we can second guess all of these little aspects of all the decision making.
I love second
guessing.
guessing.
Block, man.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's just, you said it earlier. It's like, 90% of this team's problems are because they can't do anything up front. All right, I did this little exercise. We're going to walk through it together. I did this exercise with Jim, okay? We are, both of us, degenerate gamblers, all right? I can make a real argument that they will not be favored in the remaining games on their schedule. In none of them, okay? 49ers game, they're not going to be favored. They're going to come home against the Cardinals. I mean, the Rams were favored yesterday. I think the Cardinals are favored here at home. They go to the Jets. I mean, maybe it's a pick 'em, but maybe the Jets are favored by a point. Then you are at Arizona, won't be favored there. You got 2 straight games at home, Packers and Vikings. You'll be underdogs in both those games. Then you go to Chicago. That might be one where you possibly could be favored. And then you finish with the Rams, but you won't be favored on that one because you weren't favored yesterday. And then you look at it and you go, it's conceivable, Tim, that they lose every one of those games. I mean, honestly, think about it. The way that they're playing right now, and you're what do you go? You're 4-13.
I'm glad we've reached week 9 and you're this fatalistic that you're just like they're going to go 4-13 and have a top 10 pick this year.
Well, you could. I'm just saying that is like once I thought that was no way. I mean, this team looked like a 9-8 team to me, maybe 10-7. But I just think that the way that schedule shakes out and the way these teams are playing better, right? I mean, what's the most winnable games left on their schedule? At New York, at Chicago, and what makes that harder, right, Tim, is that both those games are on the road.
I think I'm still not sold on Arizona, so okay. I'll couch it with that. I think they'll probably be favored in the Arizona game. I think that's a game they should win. Again,
the one at home.
The one at home.
Okay.
I think they could end up favored in New York, depending on how much of a destructive phase Aaron Rodgers is in at that point. And yeah, Chicago, who knows where they're at right now, because they're reeling, and who knows what the day after Christmas will look like there. But yeah, I mean, you've kind of kicked away your window here of having a bunch of games that seemed winnable, that you're now, if you want to make something of this season beyond, hey, it's the first year transition and we're going to be happy with whatever the results are. If you really want to make something out of this season, you really have to come up with some wins here of games that you're, like you said, are not going to be favored. So I would not expect them to go win in San Francisco, but I do think they could beat Arizona here. I do think they could beat the Jets on the road. I do think they could win in Arizona. But those are with the deficiencies this team has, those are the furthest things from any sort of guarantee. So yeah, if you want to be super pessimistic right now, 4-13 sounds like a great season. And what would that be like? Losing 13 of your last 14 games. That's fantastic. But again, look at what happened 3 weeks ago when they went to Atlanta and kicked the crap out of the Falcons.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Jekyll and Hyde nature of this team, and that was a game where their deficiencies were not highlighted because that was the weakness of their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have situations as the season progresses where they can hide those issues, specifically with the offensive line, specifically with the line of scrimmage, then yeah, they're going to be competitive and they're going to be in games and they're going to have a chance to win. But how many of those do they have left? That I don't know.
Well, I mean, Curtis, do you think they can go? I mean, they can, obviously, but the realistic record of 6-2 to get to 10 wins. I mean, it's going to take 10 wins to get in.
It's tough to say. You want me to paint a picture for it? Abe Lucas comes back, plays better. They actually have a right tackle that can play. They find a fix at right guard. And now all of a sudden, the ceiling that they've shown they're capable of is able to be reached a little bit more often because they can actually protect their quarterback and create some running lanes on the ground. That would be the way you kind of start to do it, because the defense did make its strides. I think they cleaned up some things, and I think you see some progress. I think Kobe Bryant's been phenomenal.
Oh, he's been great.
Safety the last couple of weeks.
Great.
Ernest Jones has kind of helped their linebacker play for sure, and him coming in for 2 games. The defensive line being healthier has got that back to being a little bit more reliable. That's the way you would do it to start kind of getting on a run. But then we saw what happened with George Fant. He lasted all of about 15 plays yesterday when he came back from his knee injury. So, expecting that Abe Lucas can stay on the field and play at a high level is still a pretty high ask at this point. But if he does, is there a path there? Sure, but it's going to take some stuff to really kind of go in their favor here for them to start finding that ability to hit the ceiling of their play often enough to kind of go on that run. Because I still think they have plenty of talent to do it on the roster, but keep coming back to that offensive line is such a limiting factor. Everything they want to do, that it's just really putting them behind the 8 ball every week.
Tim, I got another gambling question for you.
Let's go. I'm all in for these.
If they, let's just, and Curtis hates these hypothetical scenarios. All right, so Curtis, hey, just entertain me for a second, Curtis. Let's say they lose Niners, Cardinals, and the Jets. They lose their next 3. At what point do you just say, maybe we give Sam Howell a shot? Do you think we ever get to the point of the season where we are having a legitimate discussion that Sam Howell may start a game in the NFL for this team this year?
Outside of injury, and this is just because of your stupid bet with Jim.
Yeah, this is exactly what it is.
If outside of injury, I do not think we will get to a point where there is a justification for starting Sam Howell above Geno Smith. I don't think. I think Sam Howell would be in an avalanche of just confusion, pressure, not knowing what the hell to do, trying to play behind this offensive line right now. And so short of Geno getting hurt because whatever reason, I do not think you will get to a point where it will be feasible for them to put Sam Howell in there at quarterback.
Curtis, you concur with that?
Yeah, and here's why. Sam Howell was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year. We see what this offensive line is. Geno Smith is still completing 68% of passes and is leading the league in passing from a yardage standpoint. Sam Howell ain't doing that. I'm sorry, he's not. Not with the offensive line that they have right now. So, no, they're not making any change at quarterback, barring injury. It's not happening. Geno Smith had his worst game yesterday because of the turnovers. We know that. And they still almost won that game in overtime because he threw for 330 and made Jackson Smith Smith and Jigba should have gone for almost 250 if the 2 holding penalties hadn't held up against Mike Jarrell there. He had a phenomenal day. And again, we've said it. Tried to say it all year. Geno Smith is not the problem with this football team. He hurt them yesterday, but Sam Howell is not better than Geno Smith. I'm sorry, he's not. I saw him all throughout training camp, all throughout the offseason. There's a massive delta there.
I mean, Joel does have a point in our chat. He has 18 starts in the NFL playing behind a terrible offensive line. He does have experience, Curtis. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, if you want to go 4-13, sure, run it out there.
Well, I want to make sure I'm going to collect my $250 that
I think
Sam
your bet's
Howell.
Fine, Puck.
Yeah. Well, that's all I wanted you to tell me, that my bet was okay. Are you, Curtis? Let me stick with you. Are you surprised? I know I am, because I had built up Mike McDonald as this real detail-oriented, hyper-focused stickler of the rules, but everything. We're not going to have some of these procedure penalties and some sloppiness that we did see under Pete Carroll, right, in his tenure, even when they were winning a bunch of games. To me, it has been more, maybe I'm more focused on it this year for some reason than in the past, but I'm really surprised just how sloppy at times they are, Curtis, and undisciplined. I mean, they lead the league in penalties. They had 12 yesterday for 95. They're second in the league in offensive holding. Comes back to the offensive line. They've got the 3rd most delay of games in the NFL. They have 17 false starts, which leads the league. They average about 8.3 penalties a game. That leads the league. You surprised just how sloppy they are with this new staff?
Not when you kind of detail out the specific penalties and where they're coming from. Where are they coming from? The offensive line. Oh, we've been talking about that for the last 30 minutes. So, no, I mean, look.
But it's on the Curtis. It's also, though, delay of games and being in the wrong position. There's guys running on the field late. I mean, there is that as well, though.
Yeah, there is some of that for sure. And I mentioned the fact that they were undisciplined in my story last night about the game and everything. No. That's where it comes down to. I mean, they've had the sloppy penalties at times. Mike McDonald told us today, and I mean, you're going to have some penalties. It's just kind of the nature of playing football. You're going to have some of those, and you have to accept some of that. But the procedure penalties are ones that you need to be cleaner on. The delay of games, you might have one happen every once in a while, but you can't let that be a regular occurrence. And I mean, I know for a fact he's had to call timeout a few times to save some of those penalties as well, on top of what the ones they have taken. So yeah, I mean, they have their limiting issues on this roster, and the penalties have certainly been a problem for them as well. And the fact that most of them are coming on the offensive line again does not surprise me because of the unit that we've been talking about. But sometimes a coaching change doesn't solve all the problems with the team, and I think you're seeing that a little bit now too.
Yeah. All right, Tim, give us, before we wrap up, they'll have the bye, then they'll be taking on the 49ers in a couple of weeks. Tim, where do we stand health-wise? Is it your expectation that we see both Abe Lucas and DK Metcalf back for the Niners game?
So, McDonald talked this morning already. It sounds like Abe Lucas probably has a chance of being out there, which is incredibly good news.
Yeah.
Considering the situation at right tackle. I don't know if you can necessarily expect him to go a full boat, kind of right away. Maybe it's a little bit of a rotation with, Gerald or whoever else at right tackle to start with. But just the idea that he has the potential of being back is pretty significant for them right now. DK, it sounded like he hedged a little bit related to DK's availability, but the idea of being, hopeful that he will be out there, against the Niners, I don't know. In no world do I see them going down to San Francisco and winning this game. So if DK is a kind of a 50-50 proposition, I don't know why you would run him out there and maybe not just make sure he's all the way back to play the following week against Arizona in a game that's probably more, important or meaningful at that point. But Abe definitely needs to get out there and get some reps and knock at least a little bit of the rust off if you want him to be able to be as big of a contributor as you're hoping he will be the last half of the season.
Okay. Well, we'll see where they go, and we'll just see what the season unfolds. I mean, I again, and Tim, you guys and Curtis, you both kind of touched on it. I do believe they are a few plays away from having just such a much different record. I mean, they are not that far off, even in that game yesterday. I mean, they just aren't. And I go back to the Bills game. Even though the Bills game looked massively different, a few plays they make in the first half, and all of a sudden you've got a different football game. So I don't think it's all that bad, but it is that razor edge, thin line that you have in the NFL, and it's just they're not making enough plays in order to get on the other side of the column there on the win-loss stuff. And again, Curtis, you're right. I mean, it's all of it. It all ends with that offensive line play. All right, thank you, boys. Before you go, tell everybody where you can find your work. Tim, where can they find all your stuff at? Go
to seattletimes.com, subscribe, help pay my salary. That'd be great. That's all I got. That's my pitch entirely.
It's a great pitch, by the way. Go get yourself a subscription to the Seattle Times, seattletimes.com. Curtis?
X13seattle.com sports page. I have most of my stuff written up there. And obviously you can follow me on Twitter because it's not the other thing at Curtis_Crabtree.
Fine. Yeah, there you go. Does anyone use Threads? Because you know what? I may need to get off Twitter and go to Threads, but at Threads, I go there and it doesn't really look good.
I've got
to be yet.
Yeah, I've got a Threads account, but I never use it. So.
Yeah, it's not quite there yet. All right, guys. Appreciate there they are. Curtis Crabtree, Tim Booth. We'll talk to you guys next week. Tim Booth, Seattle Times. Curtis Crabtree there of Fox 13. And again, all brought to you by the Ground Puck Podcast. Brought to you by Georgetown Brewery, locally owned and operated by two diehard Huskies, Manny and Roger. They've been pouring the best local craft beer for the past 23 years. Makers of Manny's Pale Ale, Bodhisattva, and a host of their favorite beers. Tap room is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Visit them at georgetownbeer.com. You can find that episode up on YouTube, by the way, also up on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts. Of course, at pucksports.com. All of that content goes up there after the show. If you're listening back to this or watching this later, just to let everybody know, we go live every single day at 10 a.m., live on YouTube, live on Twitter, X, and then, of course, live on the Puck Sports mobile app. We do have a mobile app for iOS users, Android users. It's coming soon, I promise. Just go to the App Store and download the app there as well. Also, real quick, I need to do a better job of promoting this. Please join the Pucks Posse community membership. If you can click on the QR code that is on your screen, that will take you to the Pucks Posse community membership. Sign up there. Also go to pucksports.com for more details to join the community. We'll have further exclusive content coming out in the new year, along with giving away a fabulous prize package. That includes, it's a $100 package, which, I mean, you're going to double up whatever the membership is. $50 to John Howie Steak, $25 to Flat Stick Pub, $25 to Georgetown Brewery. But again, you are supporting, this is a community-based kind of entity we're doing. You're supporting Puck Sports, so I would appreciate it. Again, just go and join Puck's Posse community membership. Go to pucksports.com or take a picture of that QR code that is on your screen if you're watching it, and those listening back later or listening right now on the Puck Sports mobile app. Best place to go is just to pucksports.com. Top banner, you'll see a link to the Puck's Posse community membership, where I've mentioned this before. We're going to bring back dynamic duos, what we did on the radio show years ago, where we talk to two people, whether they're athletes, broadcasters, personalities with Seattle connections. We're going to bring that back in the new year. We already have our first guest lined up that's going to come out. We'll have a special Major League Baseball off-season wrap-up show that will come out, and also we're going to have some special content leading up to the NFL draft. So go sign up for the Pucks Posse community membership. And as I mentioned before, Daily Puck Drop, all of our regular guests that we have on every week that you've grown accustomed to, the NFL now, and then the ones we've had during baseball season, those are never going behind a paywall. Those will always remain free and open. The Pucks Posse community membership is just more about being part of this community that we are building here together. All right, that's my sales pitch. Let's get to the Hey What the Puck, brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when damages affect your residential or commercial property. 206-81... God, I keep going too fast. 206-817-8917. 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com. North Seattle franchise. Big thanks to Trent and the whole company there for supporting Puck Sports. Derek as well. Happy birthday to Derek. Just celebrated birthday over the weekend. We are going to go back here for the Cougs real quick. Let us have our time. All right, you sons of bitches. Let us have our time. Let us dream big. As the great Graz used to say, the Dare to Dream Express. Hope is a powerful thing. I'm going to quote them all, Shawshank Redemption. We understand the schedule. We get it. We get if we were playing a Pac-12 schedule. We're not 7-1. Have there been lucky wins this year, pulling out victories from the jaws of defeat? 100%. Do I give the Cougs not much of a chance to make the college football playoff, but I am going to enjoy the hell out of this for as long as it lasts. And tomorrow I'm going to enjoy the hell out of flipping on my TV and watching the release of the college football playoff, okay? Because wherever they are ranked, let's say it's 20th or 19th, they're 20th in the AP pool, it's going to say them. It's going to say Washington State University. And for 30 seconds to a minute, they are going to break them down and say, well, Texas Tech keeps winning. Washington keeps winning. I disagree with Jim. I'd rather to see Washington keep winning if it gets us into the college football playoffs. They're going to talk about for a minute. And I think the important part of this is, regardless of what happens, the fact that they're going to talk about them and the fact that they are one of 24 or 25 teams that will be discussed tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right? I keep saying tomorrow, and it is tomorrow, isn't it? The fact that they will be discussed will be awesome. And I think every Coug should embrace it and lean into it, because it may not going to last. It may not last. It may disappear. But where they've been for the last year and a half plus, and what has happened, what's changed in college football, and everything that they've had to deal with, being left out. It is tomorrow. Thank you. Being left out of the new hierarchy of college football. It is some sweet satisfaction that with the first rankings coming out on Tuesday, that they're going to be mentioned and that they actually have a shot at it. It's a slim shot, but it's still a shot. And right now they got a 17% chance of getting in. And if they win out the remaining, that increases to 34%. And crazy things happen in college football. We'll need Notre Dame to lose and a bunch of stuff to happen. They clearly need to take care of business. They don't have any marquee games left on their schedule. Okay. Oregon State has stumbled. They got Oregon State, they've got Wyoming, they got New Mexico and Utah State. They're not going to be benefited from anything remaining on their schedule. They'll be benefited. Texas Tech needs to go out this weekend and beat Colorado. Washington needs to beat Penn State. Washington needs to beat Oregon at the end of the year. So there's things that other teams can do that would make their schedule look better. What they've proven this year is that they belong in that hierarchy of college football because they competed against the teams that apparently are in that hierarchy of college football, and they beat them. And they didn't beat Washington on a neutral field. They beat Washington on their turf. It was in Seattle, and it was a Washington game. I went to the game. There was nothing neutral about that game. From the in-game productions, none of it. That was slanted towards Washington 100%. So when I hear people say, oh, well, Washington hasn't lost a home game this year. Yes, they did. They did lose a home game. The Cougs beat them. Beat them every facet. They beat Texas Tech. Did they get lucky that Texas Tech didn't have their best player, their best running back? Yeah, they did. But people really don't remember that back in the day when they look at it. I'm just going to revel in it right now. And I do understand that their schedule benefits them immensely, okay? But they did it, and they've got a chance. And even if they don't get in and they can finish the season 11-1 for what has happened to them, okay? It is a great job of coaching, and it's a great job, more importantly, of the kids on that team that they stayed focused and they didn't allow the outside noise of what had transpired with college football to bother them and to get on them. They've stayed focused. They keep winning. They haven't played great in some games, but they just keep winning. So that's it. Revel in it, Coug fans. All right. Dare to dream express, as Graz would say. Hey, What the Puck brought to you by Restoration One of North Seattle. Your restoration company lets you avoid the stress of water, fire, and mold damage with their property restoration services. Locally owned and operated. Make them your first call when those damages do affect your residential or commercial property. And we're getting into it. Storm season is here. It was crazy last night. There are going to be issues. Make Restoration One your first call if something does happen to your commercial or residential property. Again, that phone number, 206-817-8917. Visit them online at restoration1.com, North Seattle franchise. Again, every show, podcast later, up on YouTube. Listen to it back on Apple and Spotify, pucksports.com. For all of that. But again, all podcast platforms is up there. And of course, as I mentioned before, click on the QR code on your screen. If you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitter, that's going to take you to the Puck's Posse community membership. Please sign up. It'd be great. And then also you can go to pucksports.com and sign up there as well. All right. We'll talk to you on another show, another edition coming up tomorrow on the Daily Puck Shop, Tuesday edition. We'll talk to Danny Kelly, talk Seahawks, NFL, fantasy football, and John Canzano. We'll get his thoughts on the Cougs, the college football playoff rankings coming up tomorrow there with Canzano. Until then, as always, we promise to be better.
No shoes, no dice.
Would anybody like to smoke some pot?
Yeah.
I was born to love you. I was born to lick your face. I was born to rub you. But you were born to rub me first.
What do you need my address for?
We'd like to send out a mailer.
Mother of mercy, I don't speak Japanese!